You're listening to Estrogen Dropouts.
Welcome back to Estrogen Dropouts. I'm one of your hosts, Elizabeth.
And I'm your other host, Erin. We are coming back off of a 3-week hiatus. Elizabeth and I both took some time to be with family, and we hope that all of you listening had wonderful holidays and had at least a little bit of time to find some peace, maybe to recharge, and a little bit of joy in the holiday season.
Yeah, I had a great December. I actually went on a Viking riverboat cruise down the Rhine River in Europe, and it was 10 days. We went to Switzerland, the Netherlands, France, and Germany. It was amazing. And surprisingly, I have never been on a cruise before, and this is a riverboat. I know that's different than a cruise, but surprisingly, I never thought I would like a cruise. But what I loved about it was I did not get decision fatigue. Everything was made and decided kind of for me. And so it was like offered to me on a platter. Here are the excursions today. Do or do not. Here are your dining choices. I didn't get overwhelmed by anything. I just felt it was the most relaxing trip I've ever had in my life, probably the most relaxed I've ever been. And so as we come into 2026, I'm really going to reflect on that trip and see what kind of things I can pull from that to bring into my daily life, because I realized how much decision fatigue drains me. And so I think like meal prepping more, there's quite a few things I just need to reflect on and figure out how can I alleviate some of this decision fatigue going into 2026. But while everyone is looking at their New Year's resolutions, let's hear from Erin about how this started. Where did this even come from?
Yeah, I was really curious. New Year's resolutions. I mean, I can remember hearing about it from the time I was a child, and I always thought, like, how did they come about? And so I went and did a deep dive on New Year's resolutions, and I found out that they started about 4,000 years ago, and the ancient Babylonians. And what they used to do is they would make promises to the gods. They had this 12-day festival, and it was always in mid-March, kind of around the spring equinox. So more in the time of growth, when things were starting to turn green and all of that. And so they would, make offerings. They would have sacrifices to ensure good fortune for the coming year, and they would decide on things that they were going to bring into the coming year. And then the Romans decided that, hey, we don't want to do March, and I think it was one of their emperors. Don't ask me which one. My history is terrible. I know that if I was a man, I could tell you every Roman emperor. It's like how they say men think about the Roman Empire several times a day. I'm like, I never think about the Roman Empire.
Never.
But, and if my youngest was here, he is the history buff. He could tell me exactly. But so they decided that because January is the god Janus, which has the two faces. So one is looking backwards and one is looking forward. So that idea of reflecting and then deciding on, what you want to look forward to. So kind of that two-facedness. And so that's why they decided that January 1st was that's when you make resolutions.
And I actually like March better.
Well, I think we talked about on another episode when I talked about what I would do with yoga students and how starting in the fall we would decide on intentions for the coming year, but then we would nurture those over the winter when it's dark and kind of keep that little seed of whatever it is you were wanting to bring forth. And then in the spring, around the time of March, mid-March, that's when you would try to bring it out into the world, because it's like a little seed. It has to be warm and it has to have been nurtured before you're going to bring it forth into the world, right?
Yeah, I think
it's going to die.
Yeah, so for me, that just makes so much sense, especially in the winter right now. January to me is such a get organized month and kind of declutter. In fact, I'm doing a 30-day declutter right now on my Instagram feed. So if you want to join in, follow along with that. But and it's going, I just like it's like a little daily decluttering task. And while I'm decluttering, it really helps me. I don't know. It puts me in a mindset of reflecting on what do I need, what do I want, what I want to cultivate. I just think I don't know. To me, it makes sense to really, instead of just to quickly come up with a resolution, be like, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to do this. I want to do that, to really reflect and consciously create the life you want. And so to think about, put more time and energy into that. And to not lie to yourself. Like, I think so many people fail because they set these really lofty goals, and then you're really learning to not trust yourself whenever
Right.
what Erin, you were telling me about when people fail on resolutions.
Yeah. So that is one thing, is that most resolutions are made by the younger, it's somewhere between like 18 to like 35 or something. That's the majority of people who make resolutions. And 80% of people, well, most people make a resolution around a health goal, which it's winter. Why are you going to say, I'm going to start running 5 miles a day? It's freezing outside. Nobody wants to start a new health, thing in the winter. That's when you're supposed to be hibernating. It's like if we followed the seasons, we would not be outside, doing all these crazy things. Oftentimes people will say, I want to quit smoking. It's all the different things like diet, exercise, weight loss, how to better yourself.
I did see like a scientist say that the only resolution that seems to be successful, like with most people, is dry January. It's in and I think it's because we're kind of staying indoors. A lot of people naturally start organizing in January and like cleaning out their house and stuff. So I feel like, and you kind of go within and you're not hanging out as much. I don't know, but I think that was
all the
interesting.
overindulging of December. It's kind of like, oh, I need a break. And I think because socially it has become a thing for dry January, so it's socially acceptable. Like if you're
Correct.
out and you're socializing, or if you do have an event, it's like, oh, I'm doing dry January. And so I would say that one probably has the biggest success rate because you're being supported, right? And that's one of the keys about, I think, resolutions. But there is what they call Quitter's Day, which is the second Friday in January. And that's when they say most people have fallen off of their resolutions by then. And then like 80% have given up by the beginning of February. I think what the stats said is only 10% of people or 10% of resolutions last for the full 12 months. So if it is like, I want to get healthier or whatever. And I think that's another important distinction, like you were saying, is you have to be specific. You can't say, I want to get healthier in 2026. What does healthier mean to you? So instead you say, I want to walk 10 minutes a day, or I want to improve the strength in my legs. When you and I were talking off camera, I was saying how, you could say like, I'm going to do 10 squats every time I get up to pee. For me, that's probably 10 or 15 times a day. So I'm going to be doing a hell of a lot of squats,
If I could remember to do that, I think that is genius, and I'm going to try to incorporate it. I just don't know how I'm going to remember that.
Standing on the toilet, so just get up and down.
Yeah, I mean, that is such a great thing.
It's a way to stack something with something that you already do, because they say that we basically kind of operate on the autopilot, right? 40% of our things that we do daily are just habits. It's like, if you can stack a habit, it's like, okay, while I drink coffee every morning, which I mean, I don't drink coffee, but most people do. While my coffee is brewing, I'm going to go up and down the stairs, until I can hear my coffee stop brewing or whatever, it can be something stupid. It doesn't have to be.
So last summer I started, I don't know if I have said this yet on the podcast, but last summer I started jumping 50 times a day. I saw a physical therapist say, if you do nothing else for you or yourself, like just as soon as you wake up in the morning, you stand up on the side of your bed, jump 50 times. She's like,
you jump up and down?
Yeah, jump up and down 50 times. And she's like,
it is first.
So, well, yeah, I don't, I just usually get up, I just do it. And she said, then, I mean, but you could do it whenever. I mean, you could do it while your coffee brews, you could do it whenever. But she's like, that one, it gets things moving in your body. And two, your calves are so huge with like the whole structure of your body, and with falling as you age and stuff, your calf muscles, and being on bare feet is really important, because when you're jumping on bare feet, you're activating your toe strength. And the shoes that we wear now, all the tennis shoes, are so thick that our toe strength and our grip has gotten weaker. And so she's like, the positive repercussions of jumping 50 times a day is like goes throughout your whole body. And I recently saw a dietitian saying that your calf muscle is related to insulin resistance as well. So if you can focus on building up your calf muscle. So I started that over the summer. I was like, okay, I can do 50 times a day. I just got in the habit of it. I ended up going up to 200 times a day.
Oh, wow.
And so then I stopped because I ended up with, I have some head issues. I've got some headaches. I have chronic headaches anyway. So I stopped for about a month and a half, but I just started again in January. But I don't think that, I'm sorry, what?
Did you have to start back over at 50?
I did. I started at 50 and it was hard. So the first time when you're doing hard, like you're winded and everything, but like when you improve so quickly when you start doing this, you guys. So like by the end of week 1, 50 is like nothing, but like the first few times it's really tiring. And sometimes now, and when I got up to 200, I didn't do all the 200 necessarily at one time. Sometimes I do. I'll do like 100 and other times I'll do it throughout the day or like before I get I started, this one might freak some people out, but I started also doing it naked in front of the mirror, like before I get in the shower. And I could see all my skin like shaking. And now I see like I'm tighter everywhere. Like I was just doing it today. Like as soon as I woke up and, I'm like standing in front of the mirror naked and I hold across the whole of my boobs and I just jump and I can see like that my body is toner than it was a couple months ago.
Doing them. So do you touch the ground and then jump up or do you just jump in place?
So I think that also she did not specify but I think you can do it based on whatever level you are. I do little jumps. I'm not trying to do big jumps. Maybe I should do bigger so when I do, I'm like just like popping off the ground just a little bit. And when I go up to 200, I stayed there. But I was thinking I could just do bigger jumps at 50.
Yeah.
But I kind of like jumping now.
Switch it up and challenge yourself. Like if 200 gets too easy, okay, what do I need to do to add on to make it harder? So now I'll go back to 50, but I'll touch down to the ground and then I'll jump up and, lift my arms up over my head.
So that's just like something little I did. And I think too, getting back to like the weight, I think the habit is the most important thing. So it's like as soon as I wake up, I do my 50 jumps. I, go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, make my bed. Like that's all now. It's a routine. Wash my face, and then I go downstairs for my coffee. But also, like a lot of people have goals. I used to have this all the time. It's like I need to lose 20 pounds. That's my goal this year. That is so not helpful because you have to.
Overwhelming.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. It's why I think most people probably quit. It just feels like this huge mountain. And so I think if you're like, maybe if you set your goals, like Erin was saying, try something for a month, or even I heard someone say they do it for quarterly. And so they're like, for the season, this is my goal. And they're like, I'm going to do a squat challenge. Like, and they follow an actual calendar, or I'm going to do a lunge challenge. And my goal is just to make it this month. And if you set and then you're going to trust yourself and have a different level of respect for yourself after you actually complete it, that then you can go, okay, do I want to continue this the second month or do I want to add on to it? And then maybe it's like you're slowly building a workout routine. Or maybe it's just like to walk outside for 10 minutes. And that is my goal. I don't care how cold it is. I'm going to walk outside for 10 minutes every single day. And if you want to walk and you're too afraid of the cold, what made the biggest difference for me is getting a long coat.
Yeah.
I had never had a long coat before. I got a coat that goes down to my knees. You guys, game changer. Get a long one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't need that in Georgia, but we rarely have cold enough weather for a big long coat. In fact, I was anti-jacket forever because I'm like, most of the time it's like I'm going from my house to my car, from my car into somewhere. But yeah, I definitely, when I have worn one before, like if we've gone somewhere cold, like Montana or something, having it go down to your knees, it just brings it's just
so much better.
Your body heat in for sure. Plus when we've gone to Montana, I have the electric socks and gloves, that have batteries and they keep you warm.
Yeah.
If you can keep your wrists, your head, your neck, and your ankles warm, everything else stays warm. Those are like the points where I think you lose, obviously your head the most, you lose the most heat, which women, we have hair to help. If you have bald husband like I do, a hat is definitely his best friend. Well, one thing I was going to say about for someone that has created a resolution for 2026, is that one thing that they have to keep in mind is that you have to anticipate obstacles in your resolution, or something that you want to change. If there's something that you want to change in your life, and so you need to like think like, okay, if my goal is I'm going to walk every day outside for 10 minutes, how do I account for cold, for wet? So I'm going to buy a long coat. I'm going to buy a really good umbrella that's going to protect me if I walk in the rain. If I can only walk at night, I'm going to get something reflective. So accounting for the obstacles that you're going to encounter, because if you don't, otherwise the first time you hit an obstacle, you're just going to be like, oh, I'm just going to let today slide or whatever. And so you're going to fall off the resolution wagon way earlier than if you went ahead and thought through all the obstacles. And I think when you were saying that about losing 20 pounds is, instead of, you have to be, I think, more specific, like, or more even like break it down. Like, I want to lose, 1 pound or 2 pounds a month or something. Like, instead of saying I want to lose 20 pounds, that seems like so overwhelming. Like 20 pounds, how do you lose pounds? Instead, you could just say, I want to lose 2 pounds a month, and then backtrack okay, what do I need to do to lose that? I need to up my activity level. I need to like decrease my calories. I mean, it's so much more complicated than that with hormones when we're postmenopausal and perimenopausal and all the hormones. And
Yeah. So I think if your goal is just to eat healthy and to be super active, that should be the goal and not necessarily the pounds. Then I think that hopefully that would come. And
right.
sleep. So maybe if you prioritize sleep, diet, and movement, you
Yeah.
should probably.
And I think another good thing to do is have an accountability partner. I think
Yeah.
people that are like, I'm going to join the gym, it's like join with a friend and then agree that 3 days a week you're going to meet there, at 6 in the morning or 12 in the afternoon, or,
And you
whatever.
have to do something you like. If you're trying to force yourself to do something you don't like, it's never going to stick. Like
Yeah.
people will be like, "Oh, I'm going to do yoga and they hate yoga." First of all, there's so many different kinds of yogas. You'd probably find one that you like, but a lot of people, maybe don't take the time to do that. But but like, don't say I'm going to start running if you don't like
I
bouncing.
hate
Maybe start
running.
with jumping. Start with jumping and see how you feel, and then go, okay, could I do this extended? Can I jump extended? For
Right, right,
running.
right. Well, you were mentioning that I was saying about doing like a short duration. I read about how one successful thing that people do is they'll have experiments. So for the month of January, it's dry January. For the month of February, I want to work on my reading. I want to up my reading. So I'm going to try to read more in the month of February. And you limit it to a certain time frame so you don't feel like, because if you say, like, I want to do this and do it all year, oh my gosh, like a year's a long time when you're thinking about doing something that you've either never done, or something that you've only done periodically or whatever. So you could say, like, in February, I want to read 3 books. You're not saying I want to read 50 books in the year. You're just saying I want to read 3 books in February. And then if you want to continue it in March, you can. So I like the idea of just kind of, instead of calling a resolution, it's an experiment. I'm doing a reading experiment. I'm doing a drinking experiment where I'm trying to abstain from alcohol or whatever. And
I
that
also
way,
think. Oops, go ahead.
no, and that way you don't have to commit to a full year.
For sure. And I also think that oh, hold on, I got a brain freeze now. I forgot. Since I interrupted you, it threw me off.
Sorry.
Uh, oh, I also think a main problem that people have is when they have a bad day or they fall off the wagon, they throw the whole thing away. Or they say, okay, I'll wait and start again February 1st, or I'll start again March 1st, or I'll start again on a Monday. Instead, if you throw it away, like right now on my a 30-day decluttering challenge. On Friday, it was to go through my books. Well, something came up Friday and I ended up saying, okay, I'm going to push it back to Saturday. And I did Saturday's challenge, which was like to clean out my cleaning supplies. And I was like, I'm going to also add books to it. But then Chris was like, let's go do something fun. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do something fun. So now books are pushed back to today with today's task, which is clean under the beds. And so I just keep doing that, but I'm not just like totally throwing it out. And I'm not just saying, you know what, forget it. I'm going to fail at this, or I've got too much other stuff going on. I'm going to continue to do what I can. And if I never got back to the books, that's okay.
Right.
Like I'm going to do me just kind of doing them as much as I do, like as much as I can is going to make an impact and make a difference than throwing everything out the door.
Right. What's the saying? Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater or something. I think
Yeah,
it's
something like that.
It's like, just because you missed books doesn't mean that you have to give up doing the other, 24 days that are left in the month, or 20, whatever, how many days, 27 days, because then it's like, if you don't get your books cleaned out, but guess what? You're getting your cleaning supplies cleaned out. You're getting your kitchen junk drawer cleaned out. You're getting under your beds cleaned out. You're getting your linen closet cleaned out. It ends up, you're
I'm still winning in the end.
so much. You're still winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think like when I'm looking at, I'm going to really reflect. I love like this time of year. I only reflect on my life and like think of, I don't know if you want to call it resolutions. I don't really look at it like that, or goal setting, or what do I want? I get clear this time of year, and I really take all of January. Sometimes I take February too, and maybe some of March too. But I really spend, I think, because we're kind of hibernating. So it's a good time for me to reflect on all the areas of my life and say, what kind of life do I want to build? So it's basically, I'm just consciously creating the world I want to live in. And for me, like on the Viking riverboat cruise, having decision, I never realized how fatigued I got from making decisions all the time. And so now I'm really going to be incorporating that. I think I'm going to attempt to try meal scheduling out my meals, which I've never done before. That was always so overwhelming for me. And I just buy like tons of chicken, steak, vegetables, and I just cook whatever every day, and I just kind of figure it out. But I think I'm going to try to be more intentional with the meal planning, and I might just try that, like Erin was suggesting, like experiment with it for a few weeks and see how it goes. But I'm also going to look, I really want to get into like more, really want to figure out something creative, even though I do think cooking is creative. But like I see people that take embroidery and like embroider little like flowers on jeans or something, like on the belt, like just little touches, or a t-shirt, and they'll do like a little embroider. I'm like, that is just so the cutest thing. So I'm like, maybe I want to learn how to do that. I think I want to do something creative, like artistic.
Well, I am in my neighborhood. It's called Creative Streak, and we meet twice a month, and we've done different things from, squeegee painting, alcohol inks. We've done embroidery on jeans.
Oh,
we've done all kinds. Well, I did it actually on a picture, and I never finished it, so don't look to me to be
okay.
what I actually did is I had a picture of my mom when she was young and a picture of my dad when he was young, printed on a piece of fabric, and then I was going to embroider.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let me tell you,
that's probably hard.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. So what I may end up doing with that fabric is I might end up like painting it, with like acrylic paint or something, or even doing like a wash of color, and because I was going to frame them anyways. But other people made jeans. I just was like, would I wear embroidered jeans? I don't know. I do like the idea. I did do one time, but I think in the move, because I just moved the beginning of January, which is the worst time of year to move, FYI. But I did do all my decluttering in December, because even though we had just moved 3 years prior, it still doesn't take long to collect junk.
Yeah.
But I had embroidered a shirt with little stars, a little white.
Oh, that's cute.
But yeah, I mean, I think flexing your creative muscle is so important that it keeps your brain, I think, just thinking in new ways. I mean, I always love doing, artsy fartsy stuff, so that could be, in February, you're like, okay, every week I'm going to try something different. I'll get clay, air dry clay, and I'll try to make something, or I'll do, then the next week I'll try to do alcohol inks. It definitely is one of the funnest things because I got hung up on the end product because I'm
Mm.
not artistic. I'm creative, but I have no natural artistic talent. And my friend who runs the group, Sherry, she is an artist by training. Like, I mean, she's made a living as an artist, and she's very talented. And I am not. And so I was like, oh no, because I'm going to hate it. But she was like, it's the process. It's not the end product. Like,
Yeah.
it's the artistic process. And it made me start, like just not being attached to the product of like what it's going to look like. And some of my stuff was still terrible. We did, I forget what it's called, but it's basically like doodling, where you do these little, like doodles, and it's called Entangle.
Hmm.
And I was terrible at it. And I mean, I was looking at other people, and I mean, I got caught in the comparison trap because I'm like looking at theirs. I'm like, yours is so good. Mine was terrible. But I'm like, it made me think outside my normal, black and white box of, what I think about myself. So I would definitely say doing something creative, even if you only, you could have, you know, creative Saturdays or whatever. And that's, you do that, one time a week or whatever, do something creative. I always love to do creative stuff, but
Yeah. I also want to you're really good at this. I'm terrible at socializing, which is like making myself get out. One, I'm like, it's cold. I don't want to go out. But I think I'm going to try to like schedule like one girlfriend get together a week. I'm like, that might be too much. Maybe I'll do one every two
I was gonna
weeks.
say one every 2 weeks or one a month.
Okay.
Even.
Yeah. Cause I mean, I'll go months without seeing somebody and then, outside of my family,
Right.
unless I just see them in the neighborhood. But
I think if you start with once a week, you're going to like quickly burn out.
yeah.
So maybe once a month, that way you could be like, you'd have plenty of time, to recuperate in between. And it is hard. I mean, January is cold. I don't want to get out and socialize much either. I'm more like, oh, it's spring, let's go sit on the patio somewhere and, chit chat. But no, I think that, socializing is important. And getting together, I mean, with our girlfriends is so important for us as we get older too, because it's so easy. We've done an episode on, friendships and how, we become so entrenched in our daily lives. Like I was saying, like you're 40% our habits, and, months can go by and then you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't, talked to, Mary in 2 months. Like what's going
Yeah.
on, Um, but I do, getting back to reflecting, I think reflecting on your past year and just looking at things that maybe were like really good and things that you want to continue, and then things that like, here's the areas that I want to improve, rather than actually, just saying, I want to make this resolution.
Have you given it any thought? Do you have anything yet that you're thinking about?
So one of the things that I usually do is I usually do a word of the year, but I did this year or this December, I'll usually like January, is like a couple years ago, my word was like equanimity. And then my word was, well, it was more than a word. It was a thought. It was like open to receive. And just with the move, I really I had,
That'll take everything out of you.
I had two like mental breakdowns, during from the move. Like, I mean, not like a full on mental breakdown, but I mean, like almost like a complete, like, I did not want to move, like, I was like a little bit like, woo. So I honestly haven't even had the chance, and I have not a single picture hung in my home. I have, you know, furniture ordered that hasn't even gotten here. Some of it won't even get here till March. So feel like I'm in survival mode right now.
Yeah, so it is not the time for you to be.
So I'm thinking March is going to be my time that I'll finally come up for air. And then I'm going to be like, okay, this is what I'm, you know, going to do. And then my kids are coming, my two older boys are coming up on tomorrow. We're having, you know, our Christmas because we don't spend it with them. So it's just kind of even dragging out the holidays a little bit more for me. So I can't even haven't even thought of I haven't reflected on last year, haven't thought about my word of the year. I haven't thought about anything I want to bring forth into 2026 or anything. So
Yeah, and
I'm
that's okay.
the role model right now.
No, I think it's great because I think there's a lot of people out there that are like you. Like my husband never makes resolutions. And in fact, before we did this morning, I was like, you don't ever do that. I'm like, are you going to think about anything? And he's like, maybe I'll quit sugar. And but he's like so casual. He's like, I don't know. He's like, but he's more like he keeps a to-do list every single day, does everything. He is very like,
meticulous and
yes.
he stays
So,
on task, easy.
yeah. And I think like for me as a creative person, like I really do need to it's like fun for me to reflect and to think and to consciously feel like I'm choosing this and moving into this, where he's just very like, no, this is what needs to be done. Like he sets a goal and does it immediately. And then he's like, I'm good.
So he just takes the emotion out of it, which actually
Yeah.
might be better. He is like not emotionally tied to it. He's just more like practical about it.
Yeah.
Like, and that's actually probably a good way to be about some things is like not get emotional about it. Like, this is what I need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually am like that. I usually am like super resilient. And I think for the listeners that know, I had sinus surgery and in October, and then like I went back for my 6-week checkup and she's like, you already have polyps again after I had that whole big, you know, surgery. So, and then we moved and it's just like, I've been just kind of like treading water, just enough. But I usually am just like, put your big girl panties on and get over it. Like I try not to get caught up in the emotion of things. And I'm just like, this is what the situation is, like whining, complaining about it. You know, I mean, I have had times where I've had little pity parties and then, you know, give myself the time to like, okay, but then I've got to move through it. Like the only way through it is through it. And it's going to suck. And I know it's going to be hard. And I know it's not going to be the best thing that I've ever done, but I have no choice.
And maybe as someone like you do have very much like boss energy, like you get things done. You're very like organized and on top of stuff. And like, I feel like with your life, like you're very structured. You go to the gym, you have your friend, like you do everything. Maybe it's like a sign like for you to ask for help or like, you know, cause you're not one that asks for help. Maybe right now while you're so overwhelmed and you're drowning and it's like, you're getting hit from so many different angles, physical and like your health and your physical location, both physical things. So maybe you do need some help. Like say, and you have such a loving, helpful husband that would be so happy to help you. But usually you
So did I not tell you how he fell off the ladder the first?
No.
Oh yeah. So it was our the first week that we were here and he was fine. Like we had put a sheet up over our bedroom windows. And the first thing of curtains, like the first thing that he was getting around to, hanging the curtains in our bedroom. And he went up too high. And then he like was trying to, you know, really use leverage to get something in. And he fell off the ladder. And I was cooking our first meal in the new house. And I heard this big long bang. And I'm like, are you okay? And I don't hear anything, but I had like stuff on my hands, you know, like meat. So I had to wash my hands. I go upstairs. He's laying on the floor.
Oh no.
Yes. Oh, I think because you were on your cruise when it happened. And I was like, are you okay? I thought he was kidding me. Like he had quickly gotten on the ground to like try to trick me or something. And he really was. He was like, oh, and they think he tore his ACL.
Oh my gosh. So he's like, is he's still injured then? That's a big deal.
Yes. And so that next day we were renting a U-Haul because our movers, this is like, we're getting off topic, but hopefully our listeners don't mind. Our movers had left stuff at our townhome that they were supposed to move. Like they moved,
Oh
I
my
had
God,
this
that they
big
just
like
forgot space
closet
on.
organizer. They took it out of my closet. It's heavy. It was from IKEA, one of those big things. And they put it in the bedroom. Well, so they loaded up everything. And then we met them at the new house, which was only one street over, mind you. And so not until we went back, they had left that thing so heavy. This is the next. So this was a couple days before. Then we rented a truck for that Saturday, and Friday night is when he fell off the ladder.
Oh my
All my
gosh.
plants were at my townhome still because I didn't want the movers to move those. You know how many plants I have, and
Hmm.
some of them are big and heavy. So my youngest son had to come home from college, and he and I did everything. All my artwork was still like we hadn't had them do the pictures or anything. And then they had left these a couple of heavy things that we had to move. Yeah, it's just been that's one of the things. So I you know, I have asked Jeff for help, but he's also limited by it's
Yeah.
he's walking now, but for a couple days he could barely walk. And anyways, he's having an MRI in like a week, and we'll find out if he needs surgery, if it's a fully torn. But the orthopedic guy's like moving it and saying like, yeah, I think it's a torn ACL.
Oh
So
my gosh. What a
not only
pain.
like it's like I would normally ask for help, but he hasn't been able to be as much help. And he is very super helpful, but so anyhow, so my resolution or what I'm doing for the month of January is I'm just like, I just want to get through the month.
Definitely. Acceptance. Yours is going to be acceptance. It'll be a word for
Yes.
January.
I'm just
Accept
like,
what's
I've been like doing a lot more like meditation, just like learning to just, okay, this cannot all get done. And it's been a really hard thing because I am a doer, like a worker bee. We talked about this before. I'm a 2 on the Enneagram, which is the helper. I love to get shit done. Like I'm not like a type A, but I don't like things hanging over my head. I don't procrastinate much. And I've just had to be like, this is what it is right now. So,
yeah, that's tough.
acceptance exactly. So, but hey, well, so let's talk about this year on the podcast, though. Like, reflecting on last year, we obviously, have loved every comment, every interaction that we've gotten from listeners. Every time I check and I see downloads in so many countries that I'm like, oh my gosh, we have a listener in Lithuania. I'm
Yeah,
just
and
like,
I
I'm
would love
so
to
blown
hear
away.
what we can do better. Like
Yes.
if you like feel comfortable enough, I would love to hear what irritates you about the podcast or what we could do better. And if it's something about Erin, you could message me. And if it's about
Take
me,
a message,
message
honey.
Erin. If you don't, you're welcome to tell me directly, but if you don't feel comfortable, that is totally okay. You can also message us, our Estrogen Dropouts Instagram. But
And then
I'm,
estrogendropouts@gmail.com if they want to send it in an email. You can
yeah,
even give us if there's something you love and you're like, I love it when you guys do this. I mean, we love to hear praise as well as constructive feedback. I mean, if there's topics that you want to hear us talk about, things that are near and dear to your heart, or things that you're going through in your own life that maybe Elizabeth and I haven't touched on, we try to think of things that are relevant to all women in midlife, the perimenopause, menopausal, people that are almost done raising kids, but are you ever really done raising kids? So yeah, we're open to receive.
yeah, anything, let us know.
Yeah. So, and then Elizabeth and I have been toying with the idea of hosting a girlfriend adventure retreat. And we've done a good bit of research and want to host one this year. And so if you are someone who you're like, that sounds so much fun, we thought about, and I may end up taking this out. We'll see if you feel like we should keep it in here. We've thought about doing a adventure retreat to Zion National Park I've been in touch with a guide out there. We would do like some hiking the Narrows. There's a great place that we have found that we could stay in, and we would try to keep it as affordable as possible so that, it wouldn't be something that, I see retreats, and I've hosted lots of retreats, and I see lots of retreats, and sometimes I'm like, the pricing, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's so exorbitant that I'm like, who can afford that? And how can you justify that kind of price? Like, we don't want to try to get rich off of hosting a retreat. We want it more for the connection. And that's one of the things that the main premise for this, podcast is that we're all in it together. We want to feel connected to other people that are going through similar things. We want you to know that you're not alone.
Yeah. And I will say, I've been on many retreats and I feel so connected. There's just a different level. And especially whenever it's something with, this might sound cheesy if you've never done anything like this, but something involving the earth as well. So it's like whether you're hiking or you're outside doing activities outside, somehow there is something, even if you think you're not an outdoorsy person, there is some type of a shift, I think, that happens in women when they get outdoors together and they're not just like sitting at a spa, but you're actually physically doing things. You're not worried about like, it's like no makeup, you're in, athletic clothes, you're hiking. So what we were talking about was, having like an adventure day or a couple days where we're like hiking, but then having a rest day also, where you can stay on the property and socialize, and we can do girlfriend time and just like hang out and chill, but then also add movement in as well. So if you have like a bad back or something, that may not be for you if you can't hike, or you could always stay at the house and rest on the days that we do go.
Right, yeah.
So, but let us know if it's something you would be interested in. We're just kind of feeling you out right now.
Yeah, because we are anxious to like. My favorite thing is to host retreats. I mean, I've done several. I've done day retreats. I've done weekend retreats, and there's just something about that. Just the group dynamic when you get together and everybody kind of lets their guard down. Like you were saying, no makeup. We kind of like keep our armor at home, and we just get really real with each other. It just you make connections with people that, this sounds like cheesy, but almost like a psychic connection where you just feel this
intuitive, like you feel really on a soul
you're just
level
like,
connected with women.
yes, right. Like it's like I don't care if you're a high powered attorney. I don't care if you're a Fortune 500, leader. We're all human, and we're all kind of like, we take all those labels and leave them, and we just show up as like, ourselves, and just like what we are truly, and our souls do. Yeah, they like just come together. So
yeah, and if you're like listening to this, I do know because I work with a lot of women with cosmetics, and if you are freaked out by that no makeup thing, you absolutely can wear makeup. We're not saying don't. We're just saying like there's going to be no pressure. This is not going to be a glam thing. You're not bringing fancy clothes and heels, and like that's not who Erin and I are at our core. Like we're very relaxed, comfortable people. Of course, we enjoy getting gussied up as much as the next girl, but that's not what this is about. This is about true connections.
Yeah. So if that sounds good to you, stay in touch, and because we'll start releasing information on it and letting you know how to sign up. So do you have anything else to add about like resolutions?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Yeah, so am I. Well, so we would love to have you hit the follow button on the podcast if you haven't already, and that way you get notified each week when an episode drops.
And follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And that's it. We will see you next week, and I hope you guys are off to a great new year.
Yeah, we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.
This has been a production of Estrogen Dropouts, LLC.